So I get asked the question a bit, when should I quit my job? So for a lot of people, you're in your job, you've got your idea, and you've maybe done a few things, but you're like, well, what point do I quit this and start this? And people will often do the, like, drop back to 4 days a week and start doing this 1 day a week, and then eventually two. It's kind of like, what's the balancing act? Like, as the job goes down and the business comes up. So when's a good time to start my business? And it completely depends on your business. So let's just assume you're a sole person. Um, you're going to go out and be a consultant or something. So I think the first thing that you want to do is you really need to think about, well, what is your risk appetite, and what are you capable? What are you able to do? So in terms of risk appetite, so are you young? Are you young, and do you have any commitments? Like, do you have a mortgage to pay? Do you have rent to pay? Do you have someone who can cover that rent if you don't earn any money? Because you're really trying to think about, well, how much money do I have if I don't have any customers on day one? How long can I go before the money runs out? It's like, it's pretty much that simple, I think. And so what you might want to do is think about, oh, how can you de-risk that? And so if you're younger, let's say if you're younger and you have nothing, it's not much of a. And this was me. This was my case. We started our business when I was 24, and owned nothing. So didn't own anything, but didn't owe anything. Had finished university, so was pretty much was poor. So was not used to having money. So when we had no money when we started our business, it didn't matter, because we had no money before, we had no money after. So it was fine. My issues now are very different. So I'm 55, and to start a business now would be different, because I have a mortgage, and I'm nearing retirement, so I actually need to up my superannuation, not lower it. So there's that. So have a think about what your risk appetite is. Think about, what is it that you're prepared to do? Like, what is it that some people are just naturally, let's have a crack at this. Other people are, yeah, hell no, I need to make sure everything is in place before I even do that. So do a quick reflection on that. And maybe also do a SWOT analysis. So strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. But look at yourself. So what are some of your strengths? What are the things that you're really good at? You're really hardworking. You're a problem solver. You have some money in the bank. You've paid off all your credit cards. Like, you don't have any. What's that? It's not pay ID. What's that prepay thing where you pay 3 months, whatever that pay? None of those other bills, those pay bills out. So you don't have any of those things. You own your car. It might not be an expensive car, but you own your car, like that sort of stuff. So have a think about that. There are some of your strengths. What might be some of your weaknesses? Your weaknesses might be things like, maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm doing my own SWOT here, a little bit disorganized, a little bit, short attention span. What are some of those weaknesses? Or you might have a home loan, you might have kids in school, that kind of thing. Anyway, so you're doing a SWOT. You're looking at yourself and you're thinking about what your risk is. Are you prepared to put it all on the line for this idea? So you have a think about that. And there's no hard and fast rules, and there's no yes, let's do this, no, we shouldn't. There's no one's going to tell you. This is a decision that you have to make. And so the second activity that you might do is, well, what can I actually do to de-risk this opportunity? So you have an opportunity to go out to start your own business. What can I do to de-risk it? What can I do to go, well, let me just, before I quit my job, let me see if how can I better ensure that this idea is actually going to work? So what you might do is you might set up a prototype and actually get the product out there, test the market in some way. You might set up all the socials and see what the interest is. And the other thing that you've got to do, and I think this is really important, this experience comes from a friend, is make sure because people will tell you, your family and friends will tell you it's a great idea because they love you, and they say, oh, that's a really good idea, or they might be in that area and they might think it's a good idea, but the problem is they might not actually be the decision makers. So make sure when you are talking to people, yes, it's a good idea, yes, it would be really valuable, but is it actually something that that person is willing to pay for? And if they are not your customers, if they're not your target market, can you really trust what they say? So make sure you're getting a wide snapshot of wide survey of people who are actually making decisions in that area, because everyone's going to tell you it's a great idea, but if they're not actually customers, is their opinion one that you should be trusting? So have a play around with some ideas about how you can de-risk this, how you can go really, really ensure that the idea that you've got and that is actually one that's going to pay off, not one you think is going to pay off, one that you actually know is going to pay off. And then the other thing that you need to do, and this is a practical thing, is how much money do you need to earn? How much money do you need to earn, and how long will the money that you have at the start last in case you don't have any customers? And it depends on what your depends on what your business is. If your business is one where you're a single person going out as a consultant, like, you shouldn't have that many expenses. You should already own your car or have those repayments under control, kind of thing. You should know exactly how much you need to earn. And if it at all possible, particularly in those first couple of years, if you can dramatically decrease your outgoings, so what you're spending, so make sure you're not buying clothes, you're reducing your how much you're eating out, your entertainment, all those things that don't matter. Don't scrimp on your health and stuff like that, but definitely try to reduce your outgoings, because you want to have as much money in the bank before you start, so that when you start, if you don't get customers for a while, as you're still trying to find that product market fit, so here's my product, here's the market, and it's got to fit, and it may be a good idea, but again, it may not exactly be what the customer is looking for. So have a think about that. I think I get asked this question a lot, and it's really hard for me to say, and I've often advised people to not quit their jobs, because you need to crunch the numbers a lot. Go and talk to your accountant and your bookkeeper. There are expenses in even the most simplest business. I suppose you can, depending on what your business is, but and so we're about to go related to that is you may not need all of the things that you need to start a business, like all the things you think you need. Oh, I've got to have fancy business cards and I've got to have all this stuff. It's like, well, how can you start a business with the least amount of stuff? A decent computer, you absolutely need a computer. A printer is good, but it may not be essential. You need regular internet access. You need a way to get to and from wherever it is that your clients are, which may be, so if you've got I have a pretty good external camera, a decent microphone. So I've got a decent microphone because I actually want to just be professional, as professional as I think I can be, that kind of thing. So you need some of those things. And in my business, it doesn't look like it anymore, but during COVID, when we were doing, when we really jumped into, it's pretty relaxed now, actually, now that I think about it. And every now and then I go and clean it up. But, I kind of sort of decorated the back of my, behind my, what people see. So I decorated it. It's a bit feral at the moment, but at the start of COVID, because it's like, oh, we're going to be doing this all the time. So I still do things like push boxes out of the way. So it's not in the view of the camera, stuff like that. It's probably needs a bit of a touch up now. But anyway, yeah, there's never a perfect answer or a perfect time, but there are things that you can do to de-risk it. So de-risking is making sure that you have your personal stuff under control, making sure that you've really done market research to make sure that your business is a good idea, not just from family and friends. Don't trust them. We love them. They love you. You love them, but don't necessarily trust their opinions about whether your business is a good idea. Go out and actually really talk to the market. And see how much they're willing to pay. So there's that, yeah, and thinking about your expectations about what you need before you start your business. You don't have to have all the fancy stuff. You don't have to have a fancy car, unless you're a driver. You don't need a fancy car. You just need to get from A to B. You don't need all the fancy stuff. Don't buy all the build the Titanic when all you could need is a 3-footer or a dinghy or something. Be realistic and ask people. And the other thing, I guess, I've gone over my 10 minutes. I was just going to say, build networks of other business owners. That helps. That really helps.